Architecture Review Commission of the City of Glendale is now in session. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the roll.
Chairman Mayor Kennedy,
Here.
Alderman Bailey,
Here.
Commissioner Seligman,
Here.
Commissioner Nelson, excused, Commissioner Cohn,
Here.
Commissioner Story,
Here.
Commissioner Fernandez.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, we have a quorum.
All right, thank you. And did we reach out to the alternate, the newly appointed Mr. Carlson?
Yes, his wife notified me this afternoon that he had to go to the emergency room.
Ooh.
So he is currently in the emergency room and I wished him well and told him not to worry about it. He was very concerned he was going to miss it. And I said I'd update him when he was back home.
Okay.
So we do have an absence tonight.
We have a quorum. So, all right. Thank you for the update. I'll check in with them later as well. Yeah, I did appoint a new person for the alternate position with Mr. Atwood's resignation. Ray Carlson is an engineer, a mechanical engineer. So somebody with a technical background, and hopefully he will be joining us at our April meeting then. So. All right. Next item on the agenda is the adoption of the minutes of our last meeting held on February 6th. Can I get a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Moved by Commissioner Seligman. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Hernandez. Any discussion, any corrections? All in favor of approving the minutes for our last meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are adopted. We have two public hearings tonight, for items that have already been before us once, and we scheduled those hearings. So who is giving us the intro to those? Would that
I'll
be?
do the first two. Yep.
Okay,
Ken's got
Mr.
the last
Fellows.
two on the agenda.
So first public hearing before we open, this is the property of 1811 West Silver Spring. It's sort of out in the outlot from the Pick and Save. So kind of a weird little way to get into it there, right there by the off ramp coming from Green Bay Avenue, but this is for a planned development, correct?
Yes. So this one is for plan development. It has been zoned plan development since 1995. We have researched and dug deep and we are not able to find the development agreement or any of the specifics. And so this property, the property owner has an agreement with Sharice Gardner. She basically has like a triple net lease where she's responsible for the entire property. She's also in the process of purchasing the property, but she would like to have more businesses in the building, like a physical therapist and some other real estate businesses and those types of things. And in order to do the occupancy permit, we have to check off that it's a permitted use. And because we have these missing documents, we're not able to do that. So we reached out to her, told her what the process was. She submitted it. And so we have the public hearing in action tonight. What you see in the packet is the original site plans, the original building plans. We were able to find those documents. So you basically will see those within the packet, and then that development agreement that will be approved by Common Council will have those same documents. So it's really a process of cleaning up sort of the paperwork trail there. The list of uses are detailed in that report. They're pretty similar to what you find in the other general districts along there, in the B4 and the B3. So nothing too unusual.
All right. Are there any questions from members of the commission before I open the public hearing? Commissioner Seligman, go ahead.
I just want to say I really appreciate there being a 1926 soil map, but I have no idea what its relevance to this proposal is.
Ken helped Miss Gardner put her application together, and one of the requirements of the code is actually a soil map. So he found it and he was very detailed, and you usually don't get the applicants to provide that soil map. So she I think gets the gold star for having the most complete application with the soil map.
You could put a soil map with anyone application that's missing.
All right. Any other questions for staff before we open the public hearing? All right, then I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing regarding the planned development district for 1811 West Silver Spring Drive. Is there anyone wishing to speak for or against the planned development agreement for 1811 West Silver Spring Drive? I don't see anyone in the chambers raising their hand or approaching the microphone. Is there anyone online who wishes to speak? If so, you can unmute and state your name. Okay, second call. Anyone wishing to speak in the public hearing regarding the planned development district at 1811 West Silver Spring? And third and final call. Anyone wishing to testify? All right, seeing no one, I would introduce, I would accept a motion to close the public hearing.
Moved.
Thank you. Moved by Commissioner Cohen. Second,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Story. All those in favor of closing the public hearing on the planned development at 1811 West Silver Spring, please say aye.
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 Opposed, no. The public hearing is now closed. So before us now is a draft ordinance for us to recommend back to the Common Council. Can I get a motion to recommend the ordinance for the rezone of 1811 West Silver Spring Drive back to the Common Council? Moved by Commissioner Cohen. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Bailey. Just one question, actually, I just noticed here, I didn't catch this before, but it says on the ordinance 1800 West Silver Spring and not 1811.
We'll correct that then.
Okay, so it would be this ordinance language is here, but with it for 1811. Yep, we actually held the public hearing. There was no testimony, so we're moving right now to approve the ordinance. Yep. You didn't miss anything. It's all good.
And I was just about to tell you, we communicated earlier today and I wasn't sure where she was, but
Okay,
Yeah.
yep. All right, so we have a motion then to recommend to the Common Council approval of the ordinance for the rezoning of 1811 West Silver Spring. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion carries. That will be on the Common Council agenda. We'll make it next Monday?
yes, it's
Okay.
a public hearing scheduled for next Monday and I have almost everything ready to be in the packet for the clerk, so.
Okay, wonderful. Ms. Gardner, there was nobody that showed up for the public hearing, so it was very quick. Yep, okay. All right, the next item is a public hearing regarding a planned development district at 5055 North Lydell Avenue. This is one we've actually seen before. They changed their plans, tweaked them some, gave them back to us. We saw them last meeting and scheduled the public hearing for tonight. I'll turn it over. This is the building next to the Jilly's Car Wash and next to the La Quinta Inn on Lydell. And I'll turn it over to Steph.
It's a little slow, sorry. So this project we did see this summer and then there were some revisions, but I'll walk you through the site real quick here, just so you guys have a fresh memory. So this is the building that's on Lydell. It has a large red brick building facing Lydell. The building is going to be split basically in half. There's a larger portion to the south that will remain the same. The only change is there. If you can see my cursor on the, yeah, you can see my cursor. This area where the building's being separated, they'll put a new facade right here to match the rest. The portion to the south will remain essentially as is with the current uses. The building to the north, the two-story office component of the building will be removed. That's what you see here on the screen. Let's see if I can minimize that section. So you'll see there's some employee parking back here. There's a detention pond, some landscaping. The front of the building will remain towards the west. Vehicular traffic will come in off of Port Washington Road for like semi trucks, garbage trucks, those types of things. They'll be able to circulate through the property for any loading or unloading. They will not go out onto Lydell from that perspective. There is a gate at this point, and there is gates here to block off this portion of the building. So when the building is not in operation, you won't be able to cross through the site as a shortcut from that perspective.
Will the existing fencing remain around the property that's there right now?
On the north side, that fencing will remain. The new fencing will be a black ornamental type fence.
Okay,
So
because I know when the building was closed a couple decades ago, they put a chain link around the building, and that's really what's been up there since, and it's.
yeah, so on the
Not-
north side, that would remain, and on the other sides, unless somebody from Phoenix would state that that's different, but that was my understanding. They'd clean up the area by Lydell.
Yeah, no, the existing fencing that's on the site right now will stay.
All the way around the site or?
Yeah, it's only the install of the new fencing for this specific project internally to the site that's being addressed.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
So-
you can continue, Mr. Fellows. Thank you.
Yeah, so moving on to a couple other elements. So here's a real quick picture of the grading plan. You can see this is the detention pond. There's also another area that will have a detention pond towards the west side of the property, closer towards Gillies. And then in terms of, let me scroll through. I'm gonna skip over some of the other items here. So here we have some images. This is an aerial view, basically from Lydell looking towards the building. So this area where the parking and landscaping is, that's where that two-story building is being removed. So they're putting a new kind of more modern contemporary facade with some windows and some other details facing Lydell. This is an eye level view, and then this is an eye level view looking more to the northwest from the project. And then I'm gonna just go all the way through. I want to get to the building elevations, if they'll come up. So just as a reminder, this is the existing building elevations with the office building. And then just real quick, we'll go to the new building design. So this is the new facade here on Lydell, which would be what you see. The other elevations that are on the drawings here, they're essentially probably 90% what they currently are. They are adding some extra doors, some overhead doors, modifying some windows, but essentially it's probably 90% similar to what's currently there. And then I want to just slide down towards the end. Lighting plan for you. So this is the lighting plan. It is going to be a 15-foot poles. They have two different types of lights, sort of more of an ornamental light towards the main entrance. Then the rest of the parking lot will have the more utilitarian light. They'll be 15-foot. The lighting levels at the property line are 0 point something, so they'll be pretty low from that perspective. And then the landscaping plan, which is the last few pages. I think the most important part is probably here next to Lydell. So they're keeping as much landscaping as possible. They're enhancing foundation plantings, buffering along Lydell, buffering along the detention pond, filling in gaps where trees may have died or being modified. And then they're also including, here's an overall one that shows the west side of the property too, where some additional plantings by the pond and filling in some other spots. With regard to the public hearing, that's kind of a quick presentation. I know that Ian and John are on the call, as well as Attorney Fuchs is here for any questions. There was one call that we did receive. The gentleman was, he may be on the line, I'm not sure. He was not sure if he could make it to tonight's public meeting, so he did submit a written statement. He was a little concerned about the dumpster location. So if I go back to this general plan here on the screen, the dumpsters are located here in the north east corner of the property. His house is directly on the corner from this particular driveway where I'm circling my cursor, which you can't see because
You move it over.
yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to.
There we go.
There we go.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep, sorry. The dumpsters are located here. His house is right about where the M's are here in Zimmerman.
Mhm.
So it's about 156 feet I measured from his bedroom window to the dumpsters. So I did talk to Ian this afternoon. He was going to think in the last few hours if it's possible to slide that into a different location. I'm not sure what they've been able to address, but that was the only public comment we've gotten from the public hearing notices. So
The dumpsters are required to have like a certain type of ornamental fencing around them to shield them from.
correct. They've submitted
view.
a screening, so they'll be screened. They have gates, all that. His concern wasn't, I think it was more about the pickup, the noise from that, the time of day, that kind of thing, that if it was an early morning pickup, there'd be more noise from the trucks and things than necessarily the screening, but I don't know if he's on the call or not. And his
Oh.
email was, I placed his email in front of all of you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I mean, as long as it's after 7 o'clock, it's permissible in the
Yeah.
city, so, okay. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Fellows? Commissioner Seligman, go
I
ahead.
do want to just sort of follow up on the concerns raised in the letter. It seems like there'll be quite a bit of, that this design allows for quite a bit of traffic on the east side, with right behind all those residential properties, which would be new for those property residents.
There'll be the parking, so the coming and going. I think the intent, Phoenix can correct me if I'm wrong, what has been explained to me was the intent of these parking spaces would be more for employees. So they would arrive, probably be there for 8 hours and then leave. So it wouldn't be the in and out of, visitor traffic that would be parking more on the west side of the property. But you're right, they're used to an office building. In fact, they're used to a vacant office building with no traffic whatsoever. So any introduction of a new use is going to cause some extra, activity there.
Yeah, I feel a little concerned about this because since it's mysterious what the actual use of the building is going to be, and there's this implication of a car wash. I just don't have a sense of what the sound levels are going to be back on the east side of that property.
Yeah, and this is John with Phoenix. Yeah, and excuse me if you can hear any noise in the background. There's some renovations going on at our office right now on the 4th floor. But yeah, John's correct on that the east portion would be used more for stationary parking. And we did work with the landscaping side from your city to include additional screening along that whole east side as far as landscape buffers.
Or you're suggesting the landscaping will reduce the sound, whatever the sound carry might be?
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to do a fence, but we had approached that, with the city and John, and it just seemed like a non-starter. So we beefed up our landscaping along the whole east side.
Thank you.
Yep.
Gonna get confused because it's John Fellows, John Fuchs, John
John
Parade.
Hughes, yeah,
And
John. Too many Johns.
Even Ian is jumping in with this if you anglicize his name, so.
Yeah,
Good
sorry.
luck.
A lot of Johns in one room.
Any other questions for staff or for the folks from Phoenix or Zimmerman? All right, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. The public hearing is now open regarding a planned development district at 5055 North Lydell Avenue. And I will open the floor to any testimony. Is there anyone first in the council chambers wishing to speak? Not seeing anyone wishing to be recognized. Is there someone who's joining us online who would like to speak in the public hearing for the planned development district of 5055 North Lydell? If so, you can unmute and state your name and address, please.
I'm Christine Whitwer, 5112 North Lydell Avenue.
Hi, Christine, go ahead.
I guess my concern is just the parking in front is frustrating because there's so much parking in the back of the building. It's facing all the houses on Lydell when cars are pulling in and out. And I don't know if, I think I've complained about this before too, so I don't know if there's anything that can be done about that. Or how much like the lights are going to be blocked by all the landscaping that is being put in.
A couple things I can address, Christine, and if you, the folks just said that this would be primarily staff parking, so they'd be cars pulling in the morning and they'd say they're all day and then they'd leave latter part of the day. In terms of lighting though, we do have pretty strict lighting requirements. There's not allowed to be any lighting overspill. And so any lighting that is there on the property needs to produce, I don't remember how many lumens it's allowed at the property edge, but there's not allowed to be overspill. So you shouldn't have any of these lights shining, for example, in your house across the street at all. That would be a violation of our city ordinances. We wouldn't permit, we wouldn't put that. The lights all have to be directed essentially down onto the parking lot or sidewalk area.
Or if I could, I
Yeah, go ahead.
think Mr. Fellows mentioned that this is also essentially a 7 to 7 anticipated operation in terms of you're not gonna have people coming and going at 1 a.m. across from the residentials.
Okay, so basically daytime hours till,
Basically, it's
Okay.
not, it wouldn't be a prohibited parking, but remember if Mr. Fellows had announced those hours or not.
Okay,
It is in the
Yeah.
report and, from 7 to 7, you're gonna have in the winter, a little bit of headlights in the morning, just, probably 7 to 7:30. And then, of course, in the evening, probably from 4:30 to 7, you'll have some headlights. But if it is employees, they're gonna come and go probably, within a few minutes.
Yeah, and this is also John from Phoenix as well. We did look at multiple programming scenarios for this site, and initially there were some initial thoughts about parking towards Lydell, but we opted to go for this design so that when the cars pull in, their lights are diverting away from Lydell Avenue. And then if you look at some of the topo lines for that buffer, the landscape buffer, it actually goes up towards Lydell, and then we're adding landscape features on top of that to eliminate any type of, light carryover.
And then are cars going to be pulling in and out of the bays that are facing Lydell? I know in one rendering there was only one, and then it sounded like that's going to change and now will be multiple bays.
It's just a single one in the bottom right corner that kind of enters out right to that tree area.
And that's
John,
not
if I-
going to change.
No, that's not going to change.
And John, if I'm correct, is that an entrance? Isn't that an entrance that goes in and exiting is to the west? So the east of the building is an entrance and exiting is to the west?
I think they can go both directions.
Okay,
I'm assuming the operation in there from the preliminary discussions is that depending on how they're operating these vehicle or these items in there, they could either go east on Lydell, east towards Lydell, or west out towards Port Washington.
Christine, did you have any additional questions or concerns?
And then I guess the other traffic, which has kind of been addressed a little bit. So are they going to encourage traffic entering and exiting other than employees out the Port Washington side, like the busier side?
Yeah, their primary entrance is on the west side of the building with traffic coming in and out of Port Washington Road. That was a requirement of the city.
Okay, and that's where like the signage is going to be and everything.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, and those fences we put in or designed into this plan, those are to eliminate as much cross traffic over to Lydell. That's keeping any customers or people coming to this on the west side and keeping the east side more of the kind of the private employee side of things.
Christine, did you have anything else before I call on other folks?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in the public hearing? If you're on Zoom and you want to speak in the public hearing, you can unmute and state your name and address. All right, so I've had first call and second call, third and final calls, or anyone wishing to speak in the public hearing for the planned development at 5055 North Lydell.
Yes, this is BJ Westfall.
Okay, BJ, can you state your address, please?
Yes, I own the property at 131 West Lancaster.
Okay, go ahead.
And I'm just following up on a prior objection that had been provided to Mr. Fellows earlier today in regards to the placement of waste and recycling containers. And I apologize, I was tardy to attend due to prior commitments. And I'm not sure if that was addressed previously in the meeting.
Yeah, we did receive all of us here in the commission received a copy of your email that you sent.
Okay.
And the question was raised by Commissioner Seligman. And I don't know that we've gotten an answer as to whether there was a ability to relocate, so.
Okay.
I don't think the developers answered that question yet.
Yeah, because you just got it this afternoon, you approached them this afternoon, and there are people from the developer here. Does one of you want to speak and address the issue of the dumpsters?
Yeah, I can speak to that. Ian had just kind of communicated this to me over the last couple hours here, so hadn't really had a time to talk to, the majority of the team on this. We can look at shifting things, but we did, as a part of our design, added screen walls and the appropriate fencing and landscape buffers as well. So, I mean, we can have that discussion internally, but it's just we kind of over-design that to hide these from the public. So we'd like to keep them where they are, but we can have that discussion internally on our side. We just obviously didn't have enough time today.
No, and I apologize for the timeliness or lack of timeliness there. I understood the meeting was next week, but that's an error on my part. And in fact, my primary concern is I understand they are. You do have the walls and you do have some landscape screening surrounding those. But I do find it ironic that you have four boundaries of the property and the garbage is placed up against what I believe is the sole residential area. And it's not simply the screening, whether it be fencing or landscaping, but it's also the traffic that draws. The vehicles, both, I think this property is identified potentially as light industrial. You're going to potentially have lift trucks. You're going to have other equipment taking the waste and recycling out. You're going to have garbage trucks bringing those, obviously coming to empty those. We all know the noise that goes along with that. I understand it's not consistent, but it is, and many times weekly, as well as the varmin that are obviously included with garbage facilities as well. And there seems to be a lot of other space on that property to put garbage facilities. And so that's my objection at this time.
Yeah, and I can touch on that briefly. This location was based off the operations of the tenant, where they have the portion of the facility that needs, access to the dumpster location proper. So that's the only reason why we put that there. We had looked at some other locations that just didn't work with truck maneuverability. And I just want to note that any truck traffic, whether it be dumpster or a garbage truck, semis, etc., those are all going to be coming off of Port Washington and not down Lydell.
Understood.
Will
There's-
garbage pickup be weekly, bi-weekly? Do you know how often they'll be coming? And obviously the city of Glendale doesn't permit any noise before 7 a.m. So do you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see them coming before 7. And what we can do upon approval of this plan and we get the lease finalized, we can just make it a note in that the dumpster pickup or drop off has to be during work hours, and we can kind of mandate when they can have this dumpsters picked up.
And they have to enter from Port Washington Road, not from Lydell.
Correct. Yeah, we can't bring any trucks in off of Lydell. That's basically been our main primary understanding throughout the process.
That would be correct. Yes.
Yep.
We did the same thing with Bayshore. All those stores at Bayshore, the trucks have to come in off of Port Washington. So it.
Can only imagine the headache with that.
Yeah, I understand, but the placement of the facilities, I mean, whether they are 20 feet one way or another doesn't impact the noise that carries with garbage trucks, large waste vehicles, and the typical operation of disposal containers, right? So we all know, like at our offices or other places, what happens is the large truck comes in, they pull out the dumpster, they bang the dumpster several times, and then they put, and replace the dumpster back to where it goes. That's obviously not a quiet facility, right? And that's on top of the daily use by lift trucks or other equipment. And when I look at that, the large size of that facility, and the placement, nearly the closest it can be to residential, that's obviously the cause of my objection.
Thank you, Mr. Westfall. I wish it was only 3 bangs and that was it and it was done for the residential pickup, because this morning I was on a meeting and I took the garbage truck probably 20 minutes to get down my alley to get all the houses, and I heard it lifting every single time for every single property. So
Sure.
I wish it was only once.
Sure, understood.
Yep. All right,
I
anyone
appreciate
else? Yep, thank you, Mr. Westfall. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in the public hearing? Okay, final call. Anyone on the Zoom wanting to speak in the public hearing? All right, I would entertain a motion then to close the public hearing on the plan development for 5055 North Lydell Avenue.
Moved.
Moved by Commissioner Cohen. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Bailey. So all in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. All right, we have before us then an ordinance to recommend to the Common Council. The Common Council will hold its own public hearing next week. So can I get a motion to recommend the ordinance to the Common Council, please?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Cohen, seconded by Commissioner Story. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of referring the ordinance to the Common Council, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. All right, those conclude our two public hearings. We do have a couple of new business items as well this evening. The next one is item 4A, discussion and consideration of business use for Bright Beginnings Chiropractic at 7161 Northport Washington Road. And it's this Mr. Smith or Mr. Fellow, or which one of you?
It's my turn.
All right, Ken, it's all yours.
So, yeah, there's the firm Bright Beginnings Chiropractic wishes to open in the office building at 7161 Northport Washington Road. Just have a couple of employees, pretty standard business operations, just end your standard chiropractic office. They had a very detailed business plan, and then this was a briefer a memo that they included with their application as well. But the use does fit with the district, and staff does recommend approval of this item.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone here representing the business? Okay, could I have you come up to the microphone, please? Tell us your name.
Blakely, I'm practicing in.
Sorry, it's a really tricky microphone. You have to use your outside voice.
I've been practicing in Chicago for about 7 years.
Okay.
Just bought a house up here in the North Shore and looking forward to joining here in Glendale.
Okay, and this appears to be just north of the hotels. I think there's like an accounting firm in there and a bank and a credit union, and you're gonna be right around those? Okay. All right, any questions from members of the commission? All right, we do have a recommendation from staff that we approve the business use for Bright Beginnings Chiropractic to operate at 7161 Northport Washington Road. Can I get a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Story, seconded by Commissioner Fernandez. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Welcome to the city of Glendale. Encourage you to get involved with the North Shore Chamber. Hundreds of businesses that are members. You'll probably find a lot of patients there. Excellent. Yep. All right. And then the last item on the agenda tonight is a discussion and consideration of a planned sign program at 6025 North Green Bay Avenue. I'll turn it over to Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And so, yeah, under the ordinances, any multi-tenant property that has 3 or more tenants needs to have a planned sign program should they desire a sign. And so the new owners of the building, the Tooth Town folks, wish to have a new monument sign, and you can see it as it is below. We'll have a monument sign with different tenant panels, with theirs being the largest. Their planned sign program is very flexible in that different tenants can have different fonts, different colors, et cetera. Or the original plan called for having an illuminated monument sign, but that is no longer the case. The sign will not be illuminated. And,
All right.
and then, yeah, they will also have it landscaped with daylilies in mulch. And so, relatively simple drawing, but you get the idea. And so staff does recommend approval.
All right. Thank you. Members of the commission, any questions for staff? Commissioner Cohen, go ahead.
John, if you go back to the picture, the old sign had lights standard. The sign was lit up.
Right here?
I'll go back one. The old sign.
That's.
I think
Both
there's
sides of
another
the-
picture of the old sign though that shows like what the landscaping would be around it. Oh, page
This one.
12.
Okay, so this one has two lights on either side showing the sign. My question, and when you said no light sign, does that mean it's not gonna have lights on it at all? Or will it have lights?
That was referring to being internally illuminated. Regarding those lights, I guess that topic did not come up, but we have a speaker ready to address it.
You please state your name, please.
Sure, I'm Dan Schaefer from Signworks. We're making the sign. To my understanding, those, with my last conversation with the customer, those lights are not going to be there. The sign itself is not going in that location. I'm fairly sure that's not a compliant location where it currently is, so it's getting moved anyways back and further away, so those lights are irrelevant to the sign.
Thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner Seligman, go ahead.
Question for staff. I just want to make sure there's no city ordinance prohibiting the promiscuous mixture of fonts.
No such ordinance.
All right,
This is,
thank you.
this is not Mequon.
I went to college in a town where there was a regulation that prohibited a logo for a chicken restaurant because they considered each chicken on the logo to be a separate item of information.
Yeah, and Mequon has some pretty strict sign requirements, and I think every building has to be brick, and there's a whole bunch of things. So, yeah, we're a little more flexible here.
I'm just checking to make sure.
Well, I just noticed that we actually have even permitted here, like your Toothtown has its own logo, and that's going to be on there in color. Strong Home Care and Companions has its own logo, and that's on there, as opposed to the old sign that was just, brown. So, all right, any other questions from members of the commission? All right, staff does recommend approval of the planned sign program for 6025 North Green Bay Avenue. Can I get a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Combs, or second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Bailey. Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you very much, Dan. All right, so before we adjourn, our next meeting will be on April the 9th. April 2nd is the spring general election, and this room is a polling place, so we'll meet on the 9th. And I believe do we need to ordinances state it has to be on the first Tuesday of the month. Didn't we do a motion, a catch-all earlier in the year?
Yes, we did all of them for the year, so you're covered for all the elections, all the changes have been covered.
Okay,
Unless you decide to change the changes at some point, we'd have to do that, but you're good for the year as set.
okay,
Yep.
perfect. I did just want to ask Mr. Fellows, I don't know if you guys probably saw his email earlier today. Mr. Fellows has accepted an offer to move up to a much bigger cities. We're going to West Bend. You'll be the community development director there as well?
Yes.
Okay. So I just wanted to offer you an opportunity to, if you wanted to say goodbye to us all, this is your last meeting and we've enjoyed working with you, and
Number of you I've already said goodbye to, but it's been a great, my email said it's been a great commission to work for. I've worked with a lot of commissions over my career, and you guys have all been great and asked great questions and things like that. So I just wish you the best and keep up the good work.
thank you. And we certainly wish you the best as well. Exciting opportunity. There's a lot going on in West Bend.
There is. They have a new downtown plan. They just finished a Riverwalk. They have a lot of housing coming in, lots of different projects. So airport expansion, all sorts of things. So
Congratulations.
Hometown, Mr. Mayor.
What?
It's hometown.
Hometown. All right. Look up the Fernandez family when you get up there. I will. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Fellows. We appreciate your service to the city. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Story. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Fernandez. All those in favor of adjourning, aye.
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 Opposed, no. We stand adjourned until April the 9th.